Hello beautiful friends, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about a very interesting crop. I'm going to be giving you some growing tips and tricks as far as growing ground cherries go. This is actually one of my all-time favorite plants in the garden, and let's go ahead and jump into the video so I can tell you exactly why that is. All right, so behind me here is a ground cherry. Now, depending upon where you are in the world, in the country, you can actually grow these year-round. If you have a greenhouse, they will grow like a tree, and the fruit on them will get bigger and bigger and bigger, so it'll size up kind of like a tomatillo. So just depending, if you live in a way warmer climate than me that is more stable year-round, you can grow these into a tree. If, however, you are in a colder zone like I am for this plant in particular, it self-sows. It's one of my favorite plants for that reason. So reason number two that I love growing it is it comes back readily. I don't have to worry about seed starting it. I don't have to worry about buying plants the next year. It just keeps coming back, and it's a huge, huge giver. Let me show you what I've got so far out of this bed, and I'm not done. So this is one of my harvest baskets, and this is just what I've started collecting here. As you can see, friends, there's a lot of potential for this, especially if you're in a spot where you can't grow maybe a lot of fruiting things. If you can't grow fruit trees, ground cherries are an amazing alternative. I love the flavor. It's probably one of my favorite garden snacks. It's definitely Macy's favorite garden snack right now. She's actually been jumping up into the bushes and just pulling them off and eating them, skin and all. So let me show you. So if you've been over on Instagram, you'll have seen me do this, but you just peel off the skin, take the fruit, there you go. That being said, these guys are great to freeze or turn into jams, jellies, or preserves. So let's go on ahead and continue harvesting these guys out, because we've got quite the boatload up in these beds. Let's get to it. All right, so here's some tips on growing ground cherries. Ground cherries, as I said, they enjoy self-sowing. So once you've planted them, more than likely they will come back. Of course, that is, dependent upon how you garden. Typically, when I am doing my garden, I don't turn the soil anymore. I just layer compost over the top. So that allows a lot of the seeds that end up dropping, the fruit that I end up missing and ends up dropping, leaves beautiful volunteer plants. And that's exactly what these babies are, is all pure volunteer plants. I did absolutely nothing. Now, they seem to like a balanced soil, so what I am doing with my soil, generally speaking, is working. They don't require a higher pH or a lower pH. They do end up getting a little bit of powdery mildew on them towards the end of their life cycle, but so do the cucumbers in my area. So I don't really worry about it. When they're done, because usually I don't want to push my plant past their life cycle, because the fruit and all just doesn't seem to be as, epic. Now, the third tip for growing here is going to be just making sure that you give them an appropriate amount of water. They are not water hogs, generally speaking. So if they are in another bed with another plant, just know that they're not going to be one of those plants like a tomato or a pepper that's going to take a lot of the water from it. But if you do have them in a bed with, say, a tomato plant, you may need to give it a little bit more water, since tomatoes and peppers tend to be water hogs. So just give them a balanced environment, and they'll just kind of go on ahead and grow on and do their own thing, which to me is perfectly awesome. So I'm getting quite a bit of harvest going on here. Now, as you can see, it is a little bit messy. Tips for harvesting, as far as it goes, you really need to harvest them after they've fallen into the soil. So that is part of the reason for why the basket looks so darn messy, is because these guys have all dropped down onto the soil, and that's how I know that the fruit is actually ready, because it should be sort of like a golden color Now, I don't eat the skins. Obviously, the skins are edible. My dog eats them. I don't eat the skins. But tip number 2 in grabbing these out is these are going to be I just deal with them sort of like I do my shelling peas. I make the time to just sit down, maybe watch a TV show while I'm pulling off all of the skins. And then what I will do is I will spread them out on a baking sheet and freeze them in the freezer until I can get to them. So if this is not something that you can get to turn into preserves right away, don't worry about it. You can freeze them and they come out amazing. Now, they are called ground cherries. That being said, they do not taste like a cherry, okay? So, just so you know, if you are growing them and you are expecting them to taste a certain way, they're not going to taste like a cherry. They kind of taste like a cross between almost a pineapple and maybe a tomato. Believe it or not, a really sweet tomato. I don't mean a highly acidic tomato, I mean a sweet tomato. They've got a little bit of a tang more than a pineapple does, but they've kind of got a sweetness like the pineapple does. So I heartily enjoy them, and this year I'm so glad that we have such a large harvest because my goal is to actually make some preserves out of this. So I'll probably bring you along for that. It'll be a little bit of an experiment because I've never done it with ground cherries before, but hey, you might as well join me for the fun of it, right? So I'm gonna go on ahead and sign off here. If you have any questions or comments about growing ground cherries, maybe you know a little bit more about growing ground cherries because you've grown them longer than me, go on ahead and drop them down below. I would love to hear from you. And as always, guys, keep it simple, natural, and essential. Oh, and don't forget, please, please, please don't forget to sign up for the wait list because my Bountiful Garden Blueprint has gone from being an ebook and it is now going to be a full-blown course. That's right, it's going to be a full-blown course, and that course is going to teach you all of the gardening basics. It is going to empower you to grow bountifully right where you are. It's going to include not just the guide, but there's going to be a workbook, there's going to be video lessons, and on top of it, I'm going to include a one-on-one call with me inside that course offer. So, guys, this is uber exciting for me. And I will see you guys on the next video. I'll have the direct link for you to sign up for that down below so that you can get it at 50% off when it drops, and you'll also get early access. Yeah, it's really exciting. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next video. Bye.